Hey guys, it's Eleanor and it's time for my August book haul, which I don't think I bought quite so many books in terms of the number, but the pile is, hang on, whoa, I'm losing it. Yeah, it's kind of huge. So, yeah, this is my August book haul. In my defense, a couple of the books are really thick, so, yeah. But anyway, so I'll start with, I didn't buy much electronically this time round, so there was just my usual audiobook, which was, Daja's book, also known as The Fire and the Forging by Tamora Pierce. So that was, pretty sure that was the only thing electronic that I bought, and that was the audiobook. So yeah, so this finally turned up at the end of the month. Plutarch, Fall of the Roman Republic. This was the third textbook for my uni course, and it didn't show up in time for me to actually use it. I ended up having to find a library copy because there was some really bizarre, delays on this getting this textbook. So, but yeah, it finally turned up, and I'm going to do more Roman history, and this is the one with the part about Julius Caesar in it. So I'm pretty sure it'll be useful for essays in the future. Okay, then here we go. None of this is not in order. This is basically, the stack is designed so that it won't fall over rather than being in any sort of order. So we have, this is Angela Carter's Book of Fairy Tales. I picked this up on a whim, but it has actually been on my radar for a little while. Angela Carter, I read one of her Red Riding Hood short stories in a class earlier this year and actually wrote an essay on it, and I really liked it. And so I've been looking to actually get more Angela Carter, and so this is her Book of Fairy Tales, which they're fairy tales from around the world, and they're not your typical sort of Disney fairy tales. Hang on, what does it say? Once upon a time, fairy tales weren't meant just for children, and neither is Angela Carter's Book of Fairy Tales. This stunning collection contains lyrical tales, bloody tales, hilariously funny and ripely bawdy stories from countries all around the world, from the Arctic to Asia, and no dippy princesses or soppy fairies. Instead, we have pretty maids and old crones, crafty women and bad girls, enchantresses and midwives, rascal aunts, and odd sisters. So yeah, this sounds right up my alley. I mean, I do love my fairy tales, and these sound really good, so I'm looking forward to, at some point, having a crack at that. Now this I bought on a whim because I was having a really bad day and I just wanted to buy bookish things, and I didn't really care, whether they were on my to-read list or not. So this is Equal Rites by Terry Pratchett. This is one of his Discworld novels. And as I understand it, it's about a story of a girl who was the 8th child, and when a wizard died and left his staff to the 8th son of the 8th son, he didn't actually check that the 8th son was in fact a son. So we've got a girl who wants to be a wizard, and we've got Granny Weatherwax. Basically, as far as I can tell, it's Granny Weatherwax fighting the patriarchy, which sounds right up my alley because the witches are my favourite characters in Discworld so far. I haven't read many Discworld books, and I have a complicated relationship with Discworld. Some I like, some I don't. But so yeah, this is another witches book, which hopefully I will really, really like. And it's a beautiful purple hardcover edition. I couldn't resist. Okay, and now we get to a couple of books I bought at my local op shop. So we have Anne McCaffrey's Dragonflight. Anne McCaffrey is one of those names that I've always kind of known, but never read a lot of. My dad had a copy of Pegasus in Flight, and I know I read that as a teenager. I can't really remember what it was about, but I've never read any of the Pern books, and so this is the first in the Chronicles of the Dragons of Pern, Dragonflight, and I basically picked it up because I know it's the next Magical Space Pussycats novel, and I'm really behind on that podcast already because I'm still only 15 pages into Sinners, but it was $2, so I picked it up, and so I can read some Anne McCaffrey. And then at the same time, I picked up Northern Lights by Phillip Pullman. I've never read this series. I know people who absolutely love this series. However, my dad wasn't all that impressed with it. I've seen the movie, but again, that was a while back, and it was mainly because I was on a Daniel Craig kick. Haven't read the book. Not sure what I'm going to think about it because I've been told, particularly by my dad, who, like I said, has read it, that it's pretty much anti-C.S. Lewis, and I kind of love the Chronicles of Narnia. But, you know, I enjoyed the movie reasonably, although, again, I have a friend who's like, forget the movie, read the book. So, anyway, at some point I'll pick up Northern Lights by Phillip Pullman. And the next two books I bought because HarperCollins released a whole bunch of classics with covers that were... Ooh, my iPad just made a noise. Ignore that. Anyway, with covers for classic books that were exclusive to Dimmicks, and by buying two during their deal, I got to get a free tote bag, which is a really cute tote bag with a whale and a Moby Dick quote. But, you know, a lot of the classics I already owned, but I ended up picking up Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. I've seen multiple movie versions of this. I probably read it at some stage when I was a kid, but I don't actually have a copy. So it's really quite, I'm surprised at how thin it was, but I'm really quite looking forward to picking that up again sometime. And, you know, it's a kind of cute cover, so. And at the same time, I picked up Grimm's Fairy Tales by Jacob Grimm and Wilhelm Grimm in the same sort of Collins Classics edition. Yeah, I don't think I've ever actually read the original Grimm's Fairy Tales. And since as you can see from the previous Angela Carter book, I'm kind of on a fairy tales and fairy tale retelling kick at the moment. I've been studying some in my English classes, and I've just started studying mythology in my Mythology in the Ancient World class this week. So fairy tales, mythology, it's kind of really what interests me. So yeah, a copy of the Grimm's Fairy Tales. Alright, and now we get to some more second-hand ones, but these ones I basically bought for sentimental reasons. The first one is Monica from Fear to Victory by Monica Seles with Nancy Ann Richardson. I first read this book when I was a teenager. There was a copy of it in my local library, and I love, it's a biography, and I loved it. I mean, it's out of date because it was before Monica Seles had a comeback in the early 2000s. But this moved me so much when I was a teenager. It's sort of, the chapters alternate between her early career as a tennis player and the incident that happened and her recovery, the incident being when a fan of Steffi Graf stabbed her while she was on court at a match in jewellery in Germany, so stabbed her in the back, and it took her a very long time to recover. There's a lot in here about her, not just her physical recovery, but her mental health. And yeah, I used to cry over this book, and I've been searching for it again for years, but I've never seen it anywhere else except that one library. And I finally found a secondhand copy, so I picked it up immediately because I really want to read this again and see if it's as good as I remember. And then this one, also sentimental, is In Shadowside by Elizabeth Ashe. Now, the story behind this one, I cannot believe I found a copy of this in Australia, but Elizabeth Ashe also happens to be, I won't say the name, but she was a fan fiction author and one of the earliest fan fiction authors that I read and followed. One of her Harry Potter Buffy crossover stories was deeply influential in my early fan fiction journey, and she'd written In Shadowside on her blog, and I never actually read it. It was on her blog, and she took it down and she got it published, but I've never actually read it. But her fan fiction writing was so important to me when I was at university. I would read it over and over and over. And so when I saw an actual copy of this book in Australia, I was like, I can't believe I've seen it. I have to pick it up. So that's In Shadowside by Elizabeth Ashe. Whew, almost at the end. So at the start of the month, I went and I picked up Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, which I haven't read yet, and I am kind of avoiding any sort of discussions or reviews. I mean, I've seen a few people say they don't like it, but but yeah, so this is the play script by J.K. Rowling, John Tiffany, and Jack Thorne. Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to it, but I'm not really going into it with any expectations at all. It's been a long time since I read Harry Potter, and I gotta say, I loved Harry Potter. I really did, and I really do. But because I was already in my late teens when I started reading it, it's not the foundation series that it is for me, that it is for a lot of other people. It doesn't have, like, I love it and it's amazing, and you know, for the last few books of the series I bought it, you know, the day it came out, that kind of thing, and just devoured it. But you know, it's not so important that if I don't like the play I'll be devastated. But you know, I might like the play, you never know. So yeah, that's Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. And then on the same, I walked into the bookshop that day only meaning to buy Harry Potter, and Dimmix was doing a Love Oz YA promotion, where you could buy 2 Australian YA author books from the particular labelled ones. And okay, yes, my iPad is making noise again. Sorry. And buy 2 for $30. And so a lot of the ones that I looked at that I would have liked, I already had read, already owned, but I did pick up 2. So I picked up Newt's Emerald by Garth Nix. I've not read much in the way of Garth Nix' work. He's a huge, like, he's done an amazing amount. And like, I've heard his name a lot. I've heard a lot about his books. I know I may have read one of his Star Wars books. I'm not sure. I can't actually remember all the Star Wars books I've ever written. Read. And I've definitely read at least one of his short stories. He had a short story in Kaleidoscope, I believe. But this is a recent book of his, and it is, as it says down the bottom, a Regency romance with a magical twist. And I love my Regency romance, particularly when it has magic. You know, I love my Jane Austen, and although I haven't finished Mary Robinette Kowal's series yet, I absolutely love her Glamorous History series. So this kind of sounds like my thing. It says, after the Newington Emerald is stolen at the height of a conjured storm, 18-year-old Lady Truthful Newington goes to London to search for the magical heirloom of her house. But as no well-bred young lady can hunt the metropolis for a stolen jewel, she's compelled to disguise herself as a man and is soon caught up in a dangerous adventure where she must risk her life, her reputation, and her heart. Sounds like a heap of fun. Really looking forward to picking this up. And the other Oz YA book I ended up picking up was Illuminae. I've never read any of Amie Kaufman or J. Kristoff's work, but this, like, since I started, you know, hanging around YouTube back in March and April this year, I have seen so many people talk about this book. I have seen so many people love this book. So I thought, you know what, I may as well pick it up and have a go. I mean, it's kind of big, but because of the way it is, because it's, you know, not normal text, it probably won't take me long. But yeah, so I picked that up because, you know, I've heard so many people say so many great things about it. And finally, yes, we're nearly at the end of this book haul, I bought myself a very gorgeous The Complete Novels of Jane Austen, because I was in the mood to have something pretty. And so this is the slip cover, which, you know, you can say is absolutely gorgeous, and that's the spine. It's the book itself is, if I can get it out of its slip cover, it's cloth bound, which is really nice. Okay, it's not, there it is. See? So it's a cloth bound book. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it's got all her completed novels. So Sense and Sensibility, Pride and Prejudice, Mansfield Park, Emma, Northanger Abbey, and Persuasion, and it's got Lady Susan, which is sort of the short one. I'm not sure if Lady Susan is complete or if it's just a short short story. I can't even remember if I've read it. I may have read it. But yeah, so this absolutely gorgeously bound, cloth-bound edition of Jane Austen's novels. Has, you know, the end papers, and the ribbon, and I just couldn't resist. It was too beautiful, and if ever there's going to be, you know, an author that I get beautiful editions of, even though I've already got multiple editions, it's Jane. So yeah, that was my August book haul. I hope you all enjoyed that. If you can recommend any of the books that I've bought, comment and let me know what you think of them. Just don't spoil them for me. And yeah, that's another huge book haul. Let's see what September brings. See ya.